The mystery of the Shroud of Turin, miracle or hoax? A captivating introduction, a relic that defies time. Imagine standing before an artifact that has shocked the world for centuries, a piece of ancient cloth, old and worn, yet bearing a mysterious, surreal, and haunting image. A man, crucified, with wounds that perfectly match the biblical descriptions of Jesus Christ's execution. But the most bizarre thing, to the naked eye, the image is barely visible. It wasn't until the invention of photography in the late 19th century that the world was stunned to discover that the image on the shroud was actually a negative photograph, a phenomenon that should have been impossible in the Middle Ages. So, the question arises, who created this image, and how? A medieval forgery, a divine miracle, or a scientific phenomenon beyond our current understanding? A mystery without an answer. The Shroud of Turin has long been considered a sacred relic, believed by millions to be the burial cloth that wrapped the body of Jesus Christ after his crucifixion. However, scientists remain skeptical. Decades of controversy and groundbreaking experiments have attempted to uncover the truth. In 1978, a team of scientists from the Shroud of Turin research project, STURP, conducted the most in-depth analysis of the relic using the most advanced technology available at the time. Yet their findings didn't solve the mystery. Instead, they made it even more baffling. They discovered that the image on the cloth was not painted or drawn using any known pigments or dyes. Traces of real human blood were found, identified as type AB, a blood type common in the Middle East. The way the image formed on the fabric resembled an unknown photographic or radiation-like process never seen in human history. These discoveries raised even more questions. If this were a forgery, how did it surpass the artistic capabilities of the Middle Ages? If this were the mark of Jesus Christ, could science explain it? If an unknown technology created this image, then where did that technology come from? A challenge for both science and religion, the Shroud of Turin is not just a religious relic, it is one of the greatest unsolved puzzles of human history. Scientists, historians, and even art restoration experts have all attempted to unravel its secrets. But the deeper they dig, the more they uncover things that simply cannot be explained. And today, in this A&O Productions video, we will peel back the layers of this mystery, uncovering scientific studies, legendary stories, and controversial theories surrounding this enigmatic artifact. Could this really be the divine imprint of Christ, or is it one of history's greatest hoaxes? Join us as we embark on a journey to find the truth. The mystery of the image on the shroud. 1. The Shroud, an ancient photograph. In 1898, an Italian photographer, Secondo Pia, had the opportunity to photograph the Shroud of Turin using the primitive photography technology available at the time. When he developed the negative, something bizarre and inexplicable occurred. The image on the shroud became clearer when viewed as a negative. The facial features appeared sharp and well-defined, revealing intricate details of the wounds, hair, beard, and expression of the man on the fabric. This completely contradicted any known form of medieval artwork. Normally, paintings or engravings do not possess negative properties. Only a photographically captured image does. So the question arises, how could an image with photographic properties exist on a piece of cloth that predates the invention of photography by centuries? 2. A scientific challenge. No one can recreate it. Since the discovery of the shroud's unique properties, scientists and artists worldwide have attempted to reproduce the image using various methods: painting with dyes or pigments, engraving or embossing onto fabric, creating chemical reactions on cloth, using heat or ultraviolet light to imprint an image. But all these attempts failed to recreate an image with the three-dimensional properties found on the shroud. To further investigate, in 1978, a group of scientists from the Shroud of Turin research project, STURP, used modern image processing technology to analyze the shroud. They discovered that the image on the shroud contains encoded three-dimensional data, a feature that does not exist in medieval artwork. There are no traces of ink, paint, or any known coloring agents on the fabric, proving that the image was not handmade. The depth variation of the image suggests that the intensity of shading corresponds to the distance between the body and the cloth when it was draped over a real person. These findings shocked the scientific community. No artist, scientist, or technology from the medieval era could have created such a complex image. 3. The light burst hypothesis and the formation of the image. Some scientists have proposed a theory that the image on the shroud may have been formed by a powerful burst of energy. When subjected to high-intensity ultraviolet radiation, fabric has been observed to develop marks similar to the image on the shroud. This has led to a controversial hypothesis. Could it be that when Jesus' body disappeared from the cloth, an unknown burst of energy or light was released, imprinting his image onto the fabric? Currently, science has no definitive explanation for how the image on the shroud was formed, leading to some profound questions. Is this a supernatural phenomenon that science has yet to explain? Or is it simply a physical process that remains undiscovered? Regardless of the answer, the mystery of the Shroud of Turin remains one of the most perplexing enigmas of modern science. Scientific studies and astonishing data. In 1978, a team of scientists from the Shroud of Turin research project, STURP, was granted direct access to conduct an in-depth examination of the shroud using the most advanced technology of the time. What they discovered was not only shocking, but also sparked even greater controversy. 1. The discovery of real human blood. One of the most significant findings was that the reddish stains on the shroud were not paint or pigment, but actual blood. After testing, researchers determined that it was real human blood, not a dye or artificial color. The blood type was AB, which is common in the Middle East, but relatively rare in Europe, where skeptics had long argued that the shroud was a medieval forgery. The blood showed signs of plasma separation from red blood cells, which typically occurs when a person experiences severe trauma, dehydration, or a slow, painful death. This finding immediately debunked the idea that the shroud was merely a painted work, as no medieval artist could have faked biological blood properties. 2. The wounds match a Roman crucifixion. Another astonishing detail was that the injuries depicted on the shroud perfectly matched the Roman method of crucifixion. Nail marks in the wrists rather than in the palms as traditionally depicted. Scientific studies show that if a person were nailed through the palms, their body weight would cause the hands to tear apart. However, when nailed through the wrists, the bones would hold the body in place. A wound on the right side, matching the biblical account where a Roman soldier pierced Jesus' side with a spear to confirm his death. Whip marks across the back, consistent with the Roman flagellation method used before crucifixion. No one knows how such medically accurate details could have appeared on the fabric, especially with a level of precision comparable to modern medical imaging. 3. No ink or paint. This is not a painting. To test whether the image was an artistic creation, scientists used microscopes, spectroscopy, and other advanced techniques to look for traces of paint, pigments, or dyes. The results were astounding. No evidence of ink, paint, or any pigment was found on the fabric. The fibers showed no signs of soaking in color, which would have been expected if the image had been painted or printed. The image was only present on the very surface of the fibers, without penetrating deeper, a phenomenon impossible to achieve with any known artistic technique. If it wasn't paint or pigment, then how did the image form? Hypotheses about radiation or light bursts continue to be explored, but to this day, science has yet to explain how the image was created. 4. Conclusion. A question that remains unanswered. The findings force the scientific community to acknowledge that the shroud is not a simple medieval forgery. But if it's not a painting, not a medieval fake, and not created by any known imaging technology, then how did this image come to be? The question remains unanswered. Folklore and modern science. The Shroud of Turin is not the only mysterious relic that has puzzled humanity. Across the world, many cultures have recorded unexplained marks and phenomena that challenge both science and belief. Do these mystical signs hold any connection to the shroud? And if science cannot fully explain them, should we look at these mysteries from a new perspective? 1. Sacred marks in history. The handprint of Buddha, a mark beyond time. In many Buddhist temples in India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Thailand, handprints and footprints embedded in stone have been discovered. According to legend, these belonged to Buddha and were left behind during his teachings. How could a human handprint be embedded in solid rock? Could it be the result of an unknown energy force? Modern science has yet to provide a conclusive answer. Weeping Virgin Mary statues, miracle or physics? Numerous reports exist of Virgin Mary statues shedding tears, sometimes clear, sometimes red like blood. One of the most famous cases occurred in Syracuse, Italy, in 1953, where a statue was seen crying before hundreds of witnesses. Scientists found that the liquid contained the same properties as human tears, leading to theories such as capillary action, where moisture inside the statue seeps out. Some ceramic materials naturally absorb and release liquids. Yet, many cases remain unexplained, making people question whether this is a divine phenomenon. 2. Advances in science and the light burst. Hypothesis. 1. Bold hypothesis suggests that the image on the shroud was created by an intense burst of energy at the moment of Jesus' resurrection. Ultraviolet and radiation exposure can leave imprints on materials. Infrared telescope experiments show that high-energy emissions can print images on surfaces. Could this be the scientific explanation behind the shroud's formation? 3. Are we closer to the truth? These sacred marks persist through history and defy replication by modern technology. Are they evidence of a hidden spiritual world, or simply phenomena awaiting scientific discovery? The mystery remains unanswered. Lessons learned. Faith and the pursuit of truth. The mystery of the Shroud of Turin remains unsolved to this day. Yet, one undeniable truth emerges. It has fundamentally changed how people perceive religion, science, and history. In an age where modern science, information technology, and artificial intelligence, AI, shape our daily lives, the younger generation often approaches faith with skepticism and demand for evidence. Unlike previous generations, they have instant access to vast knowledge and are accustomed to questioning traditional beliefs. However, paradoxically, some of the same scientific advancements that encourage skepticism are also leading many young people back to faith. So what lessons can we draw from the story of the Shroud of Turin? 1. Truth is not easily revealed. Many phenomena in the world remain unexplained. The inability to prove something scientifically does not mean it is not real. Throughout history, science has dismissed countless ideas, only to later confirm their existence. Ancient civilizations in Africa, such as the Dogon people of Mali, had extensive knowledge of the Sirius star system long before telescopes were invented. At first, scholars rejected their claims, only to later discover they were scientifically accurate. In Buddhist traditions, handprints embedded in stone are revered as sacred relics of enlightened beings. Science still struggles to explain how such prints could appear in solid rock. Similarly, the Shroud of Turin defies easy explanations. Its unique photographic properties, three-dimensional encoding, and mysterious origin leave the scientific community puzzled. But just because we cannot explain it today does not mean the truth will never be known. 2. Science and spirituality can coexist. One of the greatest misconceptions of the modern world is that science and faith must be in conflict. However, in many cases, science has validated what religion has taught for thousands of years. Quantum physics suggests that consciousness influences reality, aligning with ancient spiritual teachings that emphasize the power of thought and intention. Studies on meditation and prayer reveal positive effects on the brain and mental health, confirming what many religious traditions have long advocated. The younger generation, growing up in a data-driven world, is beginning to see the harmony between science and faith rather than viewing them as opposing forces. Instead of demanding absolute proof of the divine, many now appreciate that science itself is an ongoing journey of discovery, much like faith. 3. Faith does not require absolute proof. Young people today, immersed in a world of AI-driven analysis and scientific breakthroughs, often demand tangible evidence for everything. However, true faith does not depend on physical proof. If a person finds meaning in the shroud, its authenticity becomes secondary to the spiritual impact it has on their life. In many cultures, sacred objects and relics are not venerated for their material properties, but for the values and teachings they represent. For instance, in Ethiopia, ancient Orthodox Christians revere the Ark of the Covenant, believed to reside in Aksum. Although no one outside the priests has seen it, its significance transcends physical evidence. Similarly, for millions, the shroud is not just a piece of cloth, but a symbol of faith, sacrifice, and hope. 4. The search for truth is more important than the answer. At its core, the Shroud of Turin represents humanity's quest for truth. Whether a divine relic or an unexplained natural phenomenon, it challenges us to ask deeper questions about our existence. If it is a miraculous imprint of Christ, what message does it carry? Could it be a reminder of love, forgiveness, and divine presence in a world often consumed by materialism? If it is merely a scientific anomaly, then doesn't that make it even more extraordinary? A puzzle that pushes us to explore the boundaries of our knowledge. Ultimately, faith is not about having all the answers, but about the willingness to seek, to question, and to remain open to possibilities beyond our current understanding. The younger generation, growing up in an era of AI, space exploration, and quantum mechanics, faces a paradox. The more they learn, the more they realize how little they actually know. Perhaps this is why so many are turning back to faith, not as blind belief, but as a recognition that some truths exist beyond empirical measurement. The mystery of the shroud remains, but the real significance lies in the journey of discovery it inspires. Whether one believes in its authenticity or not, the pursuit of truth remains the most sacred of all endeavors. A powerful conclusion, an invitation to reflect. Today's world faces unprecedented turmoil, wars, conflicts, and political instability across multiple nations. As humanity grapples with division, the story of the Shroud of Turin raises a deeper question. Are we truly seeking truth, or merely caught up in the chaos of the present? If science and religion can coexist, can humanity find harmony instead of conflict? Whether you believe the shroud is a divine relic or simply an unexplained scientific phenomenon, it remains a symbol of the pursuit of truth, a journey that every human being is on. Let's reflect. If the shroud truly bears the imprint of Christ, what message does it leave behind? Perhaps it is a reminder of compassion, love, and peace, values that the world desperately needs today. And if it is merely an unsolved scientific mystery, doesn't that further encourage us to keep exploring, keep searching for the deeper meaning of life? Regardless of the answer, the story of the Shroud of Turin is a testament to the wonder of the world we live in, a world where science and spirituality intertwine, where humanity continues to ask questions and seek the truth. What do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below so we can discuss faith, science, and the pursuit of truth together. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss our next mystical and thought-provoking stories. A&O Productions thanks you for joining us on this journey of discovery. We hope to continue exploring, learning, and seeking the truth together in our upcoming videos.